The barn door creaked open like a confession I wasn't ready to hear, and Daniel's hand, rough from years of hauling feed sacks, brushed mine as he pulled me inside, his eyes locking onto something deeper than the shadows. "What the hell are we doing out here?" I whispered, my voice cracking like the thunder rolling in from the Nebraska plains. But he just stepped closer, the scent of hay and his faded cologne wrapping around me like a noose. And then his lips crashed into mine, tasting of whiskey and regret, shattering the boy I'd pretended to be for 18 years in one stolen breath. I was Gabriel Hayes, the kid who fixed tractors on my dad's sprawling corn farm and dreamed of escaping this flat, endless stretch of Midwest dirt for the neon chaos of Chicago. But dreams were for city folk. Out here in Willow Creek, Nebraska, life was a straight-line: school, church, football practice, repeat. My dad, Tom Hayes, was the king of that line. Broad-shouldered, Bible-thumping, with calluses that told stories of harvests won and lost. He raised me alone after Mom skipped town when I was 6, chasing some salesmen to Vegas. "Men provide." He'd grunt over dinner, fork stabbing at his meatloaf like it owed him money. I nodded, shoveled peas, and buried the questions that bubbled up at night. Why the locker room showers made my stomach twist. Why the pastor's sermons on sin felt aimed right at my chest. Daniel Whitaker had been Dad's shadow since they were kids tearing through these fields on dirt bikes. Back when Reagan was president and AIDS was the devil's whisper. Uncle Danny, we called him. Though blood didn't bind them. Just a friendship forged in foxholes of bad luck. He'd show up every summer in his beat-up Ford F-150. Dust-caked from whatever odd job kept him drifting. Oil rigs in Oklahoma, construction gigs in Denver. Tall, lean as a fence post, with that salt and pepper scruff and eyes like storm clouds over the Platte River. He wasn't family, but he felt like it. Barbecues where he'd flip burgers with a wink, teaching me to throw a curveball that actually curved. "You're gonna break hearts, kid," he'd say, ruffling my hair, and I'd laugh it off, cheeks burning for reasons I couldn't name. That summer, the air hung heavy with heat and unspoken grief. Dad's cancer had come out of nowhere, a shadow on the scan that turned our kitchen into a war room of pill bottles and pity casseroles from the church ladies. He was fading fast, yellowing like old corn silk, but stubborn as ever. "Don't you dare mollycoddle me, Gabe," he'd rasp, waving off the hospice nurse. Daniel blew into town like a nor'easter, quitting his rig job to help out. He bunked in the guest room, took over the chores, and sat with Dad through the nights when the pain clawed like a bobcat. I watched them from the hallway, shadows on the wall. Two men who'd built walls around their hearts, now cracking under the weight. Started small. A brush of shoulders in the kitchen. Daniel's laugh echoing too loud at my dumb jokes. One evening, after Dad conked out early, Daniel found me in the barn, kicking at a loose board, frustration boiling over finals I couldn't focus on. "What's eating you, Gab?" he asked, leaning against a stall, arms crossed like he owned the place. I shrugged, mumbled about college apps, community college in Lincoln, because dreams cost money we didn't have. He stepped closer, that cologne hitting me again, mixed with sweat from mending fences. "You deserve more than this dust bowl, kid. City's full of light. Gonna blind you if you let it." His voice dropped, rough around the edges, and for a second, his gaze lingered on my mouth. I swallowed hard, heat pooling low, and bolted like a spooked colt. The kiss happened 2 weeks later, on a Friday night when the sky bruised purple and the locusts screamed their symphony. Dad was at chemo in Omaha, leaving the farm to Daniel and me. We'd spent the day baling hay, shirts plastered to our backs, my muscles aching in ways that felt alive for the first time. Dinner was burgers on the porch, beers cracked open despite my age. "One won't kill ya," Daniel said with a grin that dared me. The alcohol buzzed warm, loosening tongues. We talked about everything and nothing. Dad's glory days, my secret stash of Vonnegut novels hidden under the mattress, Daniel's vague stories of close calls on the road. "Your old man's the strongest bastard I know," he said, staring at the fireflies winking in the yard. "But he ain't invincible. Neither am I." Then the storm hit, wind whipping the oaks like God's own tantrum. "Barn," Daniel said, grabbing my arm, and we ran, laughing at first, until the rain lashed us sideways. Inside, the air was thick with dust motes and the musk of horses long gone. Dad sold the last mare years back. We shook off like dogs, water dripping from our hair, and that's when it shifted. He turned to me, chest heaving, and the space between us shrank to nothing. "Gabe," he murmured, like a prayer or a curse, and then his hand cupped my jaw, thumb tracing my lip. I froze, heart hammering a freight train rhythm, every warning from Sunday school screaming in my skull. But I didn't pull away, couldn't. His mouth met mine, tentative at first, then hungry like he'd been starving for years. Rough stubble scraped my chin, his tongue teasing mine with a promise of secrets. My knees buckled. I gripped his shirt, tasting salt and storm, the world narrowing to the heat of him against me. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, rain drumming the roof like applause. "Shit," I breathed, the word foreign on my tongue. Daniel's eyes searched mine, dark and stormy. "Tell me to stop, kid. Say it now." But I didn't. Instead, I yanked him back, clumsy and desperate, hands fumbling over the ridges of his back. Clothes came off in a frenzy, wet denim pooling at our feet, skin slick and fevered. He was all plains and scars, a map of a life hard-lived. Faded tattoo of an eagle on his ribs from some Navy stint he never mentioned, freckles dusting his shoulders like stars. I was softer, uncharted, trembling as he trailed kisses down my neck, whispering my name like it was salvation. We tumbled onto a pile of tarps, the barn floor unforgiving, but I didn't care. His touch was fire, fingers exploring, mouth worshipping, unraveling me thread by thread. When he entered me, slow and careful, it hurt like hell and heaven collided, a burn that bloomed into something shattering. I cried out, nails digging into his shoulders, and he held me through it, murmuring nonsense about how beautiful I was, how right this felt. Afterward, we lay tangled, breaths sinking to the storm's fade. The world outside was washed clean, but inside me, a hurricane lingered. "This, us," I stammered, tracing the vein in his forearm. "What is it?" Daniel sighed, pulling me closer, his voice gravelly. "Complicated as fuck, Gabe, but real. That's more than most get." I nodded, speechless, the weight of it all pressing down. Hours passed in that barn, stars peeking through the cracks, and for the first time, I didn't feel like a ghost in my own skin. But secrets in Willow Creek don't stay buried long. Monday morning, Dad shuffled in from treatment, grayer than before, and caught the shift in the air, like ozone before lightning. "You two look like you swallowed the sun," he joked weakly over coffee, but his eyes narrowed at Daniel's rumpled shirt, the way my gaze darted. Daniel played it cool, cracking eggs with one hand, but I burned inside, guilt twisting like barbed wire. That night, alone in my room, I replayed it all. The kiss, the surrender, the ache between my legs that whispered more. Textbooks blurred. I doodled Daniel's initials in the margins, then scratched them out, heart racing. Was this sin? Or just me? Finally breathing? Daniel cornered me in the equipment shed 2 days later, grease-smeared and smelling of diesel. "We gotta talk," he said, voice low, backing me against the John Deere. His hands framed my hips, possessive, and I melted into him, kissing him fierce to drown the doubt. "Dad can't know," I gasped between breaths. "Not yet. Not like this." He nodded, jaw tight. "I get it. But hiding? It'll eat us alive." We stole moments after that. Dawn runs along the creek, where he'd pin me against a willow tree, hands under my shirt. Midnight drives to the old quarry, fogging the truck windows with hurried passion. Each time, it deepened. Whispers of futures in stolen glances, his fingers interlacing mine like a vow. "You're my anchor, Gabe," he'd say, vulnerability cracking his tough guy shell. And God, I believed him, fell harder with every touch, every laugh shared over stolen beers. Yet the farm shrank around us, walls closing in. Church picnic rolled around, The whole town in plaid and potato salad. Pastor Ellis thundering about Sodom from the gazebo. I sat rigid beside Dad, Daniel across the grass, our eyes meeting like magnets. Mrs. Hargrove, the busybody with the perm from hell, sidled up. Gabriel, honey, you seeing that sweet Jenny from youth group? Time to settle down. I forced a smile, stomach churning, while Daniel's foot nudged mine under the table later. A secret Morse code. But cracks showed. Dad's cough worsening, his questions sharpening. Danny sticking around long? He'd ask, eyeing us over the supper table. Daniel deflected with charm, but I saw the strain. Nights he paced the porch, cigarette glowing like a guilty beacon. The betrayal came swift as a scythe. It was mid-August, harvest moon fat and mocking, when I slipped out to meet Daniel at the barn. We'd planned a talk. About me heading to Lincoln in the fall, him maybe following, scraping together a life beyond the fields. But as I crested the hill, silhouettes sharpened. Daniel, locked in argument with Dad on the porch. Words carried on the wind. You touch my boy, you son of a bitch? Dad's voice, raw with fury, fist clenched. Daniel's reply, steady but shattered. Tom, it's not. It's real. He's a man now and I... A slap echoed meaty and final. I froze, blood roaring in my ears, then bolted back to the shadows, heart splintering. Inside, I barricaded my door, sobs choking me silent. Dad knew. How? A misplaced shirt? A glance too long? The next morning, Daniel was gone. Truck vanished at dawn, a note on the kitchen table. Take care of him, Tom. And Gabe, find your light. Love, D. Dad sat at the table, hollow-eyed, chemo bag dripping. We need to talk, son. His voice broke. Not anger, but something worse. Betrayal, laced with his own ghosts. Danny's. He's always been troubled. Back in '85, after Nam, he told me things. About himself. I thought it was the war talking. I stared, pieces clicking. Daniel's drifts, his guarded stories. Dad's hand trembled on mine. I love you, Gabe. More than fields or God or anything. But this, it can't be here. The days blurred into a funeral march. Dad rallied enough for one last harvest. Us side by side in the combine. Silence thick as chaff. I poured rage into the work, cutting swaths through the corn like severing ties. Letters came from Daniel. Postcards from Tulsa. Scribbled please. Miss your fire. Kid. Come find me when you're free. I burned them in the barrel, ashes scattering like my resolve. College loomed, but freedom tasted like ash. Then, the night before I left, Dad called me to his room. Bedridden now, skin papery, he clutched a faded photo. Him and Daniel, young and grinning, arms slung easy. He saved me once, Dad whispered. Pulled me from a wreck after a bender. Loved me like a brother. Maybe more. Who knows? But he never pushed. Tears tracked his cheeks. Don't hate him, Gabe. Or yourself. World's big enough for messy hearts. I drove to Lincoln under a sky bleeding orange, dorm room sterile and echoing. Classes blurred. Lit profs droning Whitman. While I sketched Daniel's face in notebooks. Ache a constant companion. Weeks turned months. Dad's letters grew faint, then stopped. The call came in November. Gone quick, peaceful, buried under the oaks. I flew home for the service. Townfolk murmuring condolences. Pastor Ellis intoning judgment softened by loss. At the grave, I stood alone, wind whipping. When a truck rumbled up, Daniel, gaunt and road-worn, eyes red-rimmed. Couldn't stay away, he said, voice cracking. We embraced over the dirt, his arms iron bands, and I felt it then, the pull unbreakable. What followed was raw reconstruction. We talked for hours in the empty house, ghosts hovering. I betrayed you by running, he admitted, fingers tracing my knuckles. Thought it'd protect you both. I shook my head, anger dissolving into truth. You taught me to feel, Danny. That's no betrayal. That night, in my old bed, we came together slow. Relearning curves, healing fractures with whispers and sighs. No storm this time, just quiet fire. bodies sinking like they'd never parted. Spring thawed the plains, and with Dad's will leaving me the farm, choices sharpened. Sell it? Fight for it? Daniel stayed, hands dirty in the soil, building something new. Solar panels on the barn, a co-op with queer kids from Lincoln starting a community garden. Whispers rippled through town. Hayes boy and that drifter. But we stood tall, his hand in mine at the diner, flipping off stairs with a grin. I enrolled in AG extension courses, dreaming of sustainable fields, while Daniel opened up. His own hidden years, lovers lost to fear and plague, the drift a shield against more graves. The climax hit during Pride in Omaha. First time either of us waved a flag without flinching. We marched, rainbow banner high, sweat slicked in the June heat, Daniel's laugh booming over chants. But midway, a knot of counter-protesters surged, signs spewing hate, fists flying. One burly guy in a camo cap lunged at me, snarling freak, and Daniel stepped in, taking a haymaker to the jaw. Chaos erupted, shouts, sirens wailing. I dragged him back, blood on his lip, our eyes locking amid the fray, love fierce as the fight. Cops hauled the asshole away. We stumbled to the truck, adrenaline crashing into sobs. Worth it? He gasped, kissing me salty and bruised. Every damn scar. Back home, under that same barn roof, we built more than memories. A life. I proposed on the harvest moon. Rings scavenged from an antique shop. Simple silver, engraved anchor. He said yes with tears, pulling me down into the hay, making love under stars that finally felt kind. Willow Creek softened slow. Church ladies baking pies with apologies baked in. Kids from the co-op calling Daniel Uncle D. Not perfect, but human, messy, mending ours. Years on, the farm thrives, wind turbines whirring, fields blooming diverse. We adopted a scrappy mutt named Scout. Host barbecues where stories flow freer than beer. Dad's photo hangs in the hall, smiling down like benediction. And in quiet nights, Daniel's head on my chest. I trace his scars and think, that barn door creaked open to this. Speechless no more. Just grateful, alive in the light we chased. The summer after Dad's funeral, Willow Creek felt like a husk. Fields fallow, house echoing with absence. I threw myself into the farm. Dawn to dusk labor the only balm for the hollow in my chest. Daniel's truck idled in the drive most nights, but words were scarce. We'd fuck like it was war, bodies colliding to drown the grief, then pull apart come morning, ghosts between us. This ain't sustainable, he'd mutter one dawn, coffee steaming on the counter, his back to me as he stared out at the frost-kissed corn stubs. I nodded, throat tight, knowing he meant more than the crops. Lincoln called, a callback for that AG internship, stipend enough to keep the lights on. Go, Daniel urged, packing my duffel with a gentleness that twisted the knife. I'll hold the fort. Prove to yourself you're more than this dirt. His kiss was chaste, almost brotherly, but his eyes betrayed the storm. Fear I'd bolt for good, or he'd drag me down with his baggage. I drove off with the radio blasting Springsteen. Thunder Road, a cruel anthem, tears blurring the taillights in the rearview. City life hit like a gut punch. Dorm bunk beds creaking under strangers' snores. Profs with accents sharp as switchblades. Classes on soil science and queer-lit electives cracked me open. I devoured Audre Lorde, her words a mirror to the shame I'd swallowed. Nights, I'd hit the bars on 16th Street, nursing IPAs amid the glitter and grind. Twinks with gelled hair hitting on me, older bears buying rounds with winks. But none stuck. Their touches were echoes, not fire. I'd stumble back to my shoebox apartment, scrolling Daniel's sparse texts. Bails up, miss your laugh. My replies, thumbs up emojis, cowardice in pixels. Fall leaves turned the Platte crimson when betrayal's shadow loomed again. Not from Daniel, but the town itself. A letter arrived, postmarked Willow Creek, envelope crisp as accusation. Inside, photocopies of Dad's old journal, pages I'd never seen, mailed anonymous with a typed note. Truth hurts less than lies. Heart pounding, I pored over the scrawl. Dad's hand, shaky from chemo. Danny confessed 83. Loves men. Told him to bury it. For the farm. For Gabe. God forgive us. Entries spiraled. Guilt over pushing Daniel away post-Vietnam. Suspicions I'd inherited something unspoken. The final page, dated weeks before he died. If Gabe's like us, don't let hate win. Love him fierce, Tom. You owe that boy. Rage boiled hot. Dad's hypocrisy. The town's meddling. Who sent it? Hargrove? Ellis? I drove home that weekend. Tires screaming gravel. Confronting Daniel in the barn where it began. Did you know? I thrust the pages at him, voice shattering. He scanned them, face ashen. Then sank onto a hay bale, head in hands. Suspected. He hinted once after you left for Lincoln. Said he was sorry, for everything. His eyes met mine, raw. I never pushed, Gabe. Never told you, 'cause it wasn't mine to unload. Betrayal layered thick. Dad's secrets, Daniel's silence, my own blindness. I stormed out, slamming the door, wandering fields till moonrise, wrestling demons under indifferent stars. We circled each other days after. Me crashing on the couch, him cooking silent suppers of chili and cornbread. The air crackled, unresolved, until a nor'easter dumped 6 inches overnight, stranding us. Power flickered out. We huddled by the fireplace, whiskey warming veins, words tumbling like embers. I ran back then 'cause I was scared, Daniel confessed, poker forgotten in his lap. Scared I'd ruin you? Like I ruined things with your dad. We were kids, experimenting once, drunk on cheap beer. He freaked. Married your mom quick to fix it. I drifted to forget. His voice cracked. But you're the first thing that felt like home since. I knelt before him, firelight dancing on his face, and cupped his cheeks. Stubble rough, tears hot. You didn't ruin shit. You woke me up. Our kiss reignited slow, exploratory, mapping scars both new and old. Hands roamed unhurried, peeling layers of flannel and fear. I traced the eagle tattoo, lips following ink like scripture. He gasped as I took him in my mouth. Reverent, the taste of him salt and salvation. We moved to the rug, bodies aligning fluid now. No frenzy, just depth. Him inside me, rocking gentle, eyes locked in a gaze that said stay. Climax built tidal, crashing soft, leaving us entwined, breaths a duet. Morning brought tentative peace, shoveling snow side by side, laughter bubbling over a near miss with the plow. But conflict brewed broader. The farm teetered, debts from Dad's treatments piling like drifts. Bank called, foreclosure whispers slithering. Daniel pushed community solar, government grants for renewables, but town council balked, Ellis thundering at meetings about godless gadgets on holy land. I testified, voice steady for the first time. This ain't about faith. It's about future. My dad's legacy was feeding folks. Let's keep doing that smarter. Votes swung narrow. Panels rose on the barn roof, gleaming like hope. Yet romance wove deeper threads. Valentine's hid amid calving season. Daniel surprising me with a picnic in the hayloft. Blankets, craft brews, playlist of Dylan and Cash crooning love lost and found. We made love there, slow and sun-dappled, his whispers poetry. You're my Nebraska sky, endless, pulling me in. Afterward, tangled and sated, he pulled a box from his jacket. Not a ring, but a keychain carved with intertwined G&DS. No labels yet, he said, shy. Just this, you're mine if you'll have me. Tears pricked. I kissed him fierce, heart full. Spring swelled with life, calves bleeding, co-op kids planting heirloom tomatoes. But tension simmered. Anonymous calls to the house, slurs scrawled on our mailbox. Culminated one June Eve at the county fair. Cotton candy air, Ferris wheel creaking. We walked hand in foe hidden, but a drunk rancher spotted us, bellowing sodomites. To a knot of locals. Fists clenched. Daniel stepped forward, calm as Platte waters. Evenin', Earl. Beer. Disarmed. The man grumbled off, but the seed festered. That night, barn ablaze. Torch deliberate. Flames licking panels to slag. Sirens wailed. We watched from the drive, arms linked, loss a living thing. Fire marshal ruled arson. Town reeled, whispers turning on Ellis's flock. Daniel and I rebuilt, insurance checks burning holes, but stronger. Reinforced beams, pride flag fluttering defiant from the peak. Media sniffed, Omaha World Herald running queer farmers fight back. Drawing allies, donations from city queers. Daniel's grin returned full, crinkling eyes. Look at us, Gabe, unbreakable. By harvest, we'd carved space. Bonfire parties with Lincoln friends, guitars strumming folk tunes of outlaws in love. One night, under meteor shower, Daniel dropped to one knee in the stubble field. Ring glinting, silver band, etched with coordinates of our first kiss. Marry me, Gabriel Hayes. Let's make this mess our masterpiece. Laughter sobs escaped. Hell yes, I choked, pulling him up into a kiss that tasted of forever. Wedding was small, backyard under oaks, co-op kids scattering petals, Pastor Ellis boycotting but a progressive deacon officiating. Vows raw mine. You saw me when I was invisible, his. You grounded my wanderlust. Rings exchanged, we danced to At Last on the porch, world fading to just us. Years layered like soil. Farm expanded, solar powering neighbors. We fostered teens questioning like I once did, teaching resilience over hoeing rows. Daniel's drifts became stories. Vietnam journals shared, healing old wounds. My novel, half finished on queer rural love, found a small press. Betrayal's faded scars, conflicts compost for growth. In the barn, rebuilt brighter, we'd steal moments. Hands linking over tools, kisses tasting of earth and eternity. Speechless hours long past. Now we spoke volumes and glances. In the life we tilled together. Human, heroic, holy hours. Post-vows, the honeymoon phase hit like a bumper crop. Every touch electric, every dawn a gift. We road-tripped Route 66 in the restored F-150. Chasing diners and deserts. Daniel's hand on my thigh as cacti blurred by. Feels like stealing time, he'd say. Motel neon buzzing our confessions. Back in Willow Creek, routine rooted us. Coffee black, chores synced, nights where we'd trace each other's histories on skin. His shrapnel scars from Nam, my fading bruises from football follies. Romance wasn't grand gestures. It was Daniel leaving my favorite mug steaming by the tractor, or me slipping Springsteen tickets in his pocket, knowing he'd hum Born to Run off-key in the shower. But drama's roots run deep in Nebraska clay. Fall brought the council election. Ellis gunning for re-election on a traditional values platform, code for us. Flyers littered drives. Protect our farms from urban filth. Whispers at the co-op escalated to vandalism. Tires slashed on the kids' bikes. Fags out keyed into the barn door. Daniel wanted to fight fire with facts, rallying petitions for anti-hate ordinances. I hesitated, old fears coiling. What if it costs the farm? Dad's legacy? His eyes flashed hurt. Your legacy now, Gabe, and mine. We don't hide anymore. Argument simmered. Words like hail. Me accusing him of recklessness. Him calling me chained to ghosts. We slept backs turned. Air arctic. The silence louder than locusts. Morning cracked the ice. Daniel up before dawn. Frying bacon. Apology in the grease splatters. You're right, it's ours to lose. But losing ourselves? That's the real arson. I pulled him close. Forgiveness in the kiss. Bodies reconciling urgent on the linoleum. Counter rattling. Gasps echoing like vows renewed. We compromised, low-key advocacy. Letters to the editor painting our story sans sensationalism. 2 men, 1 farm, feeding the future. Town responses trickled. Support from the feed store owner, whose son lived queer in Denver. Silence from others, but no more keys indoors. Winter deepened emotional trenches. Daniel's past resurfaced via a letter from Tulsa. Ex-lover, Marcus, dying of complications from the old epidemic, reaching out for closure. He was my first real heartbreak. Daniel confided over hearth fire, voice ash. Pushed me to enlist, thinking war'd cure it. I held him through the sobs, jealousy a fleeting shadow, replaced by awe at his survival. We flew south, Hospital room sterile as regret. Marcus, frail but fierce, gripped Daniel's hand. You were light in the dark, Dan. Pass it on. Last words. Love that boy of yours. No half measures. Drive home was cathartic, Daniel lighter, sharing Marcus tales like lifting weights, our bond steel-forged. Spring stirred romance's bloom. Anniversary under the solar arrays, picnic of wild asparagus foraged from the creek. He blindfolded me, leading to the hayloft, transformed with string lights, quilt spread, champagne chilled in an ice-filled trough. Remember our storm? He murmured, untying the cloth, revealing a sketchpad of us. Pencil renderings from memory, tender and true. My gift. A tattoo appointment booked, matching his eagle on my ribs. Wings spread, fierce. That night, lovemaking was worship. Slow undulations, mouths mapping ink, climaxes whispered secrets. Yet conflict crested with the floods. Plats swelling biblical, washing out fences, drowning seedlings. Neighbors mobilized, sandbags and sump pumps a muddy commune. Amid chaos, Ellis showed, shovel in hand, face thunderous but action speaking. Even sinners need dry feet, he grunted, passing me a bag. Post-flood huddle at the church basement. Coffee bitter, he cornered us. Heard about your union. Bible says, Daniel cut in calm. Says love your neighbor, too, pastor. We're here, bags and all. Ellis deflated, mumbling retreat, but seed planted. First thaw in his frost. Summer's heatwave baked tensions anew. Drought cracked earth, whispers of water rights lawsuits. A developer eyed our acres for a fracking site. Big bucks, but poison promises. Council meeting devolved into shouting match. Ellis backed the deal. Progress for progress' sake. I rose, voice steady. This land fed my dad through cancer. It'll feed my kids, if I leave 'em any. Daniel flanked me, hand on shoulder. We've got solar, co-op yields, sustainable wins. Votes tied. Tiebreaker? Ellis, after a long stare, swung our way. For the boy, he muttered later, nodding at me. Reminds me of my nephew, lost to the city, to choices. Revelation hung, his own buried ache humanizing the hate. Romance peaked at Harvest Festival, booths hawking pies, kids on hayrides. We danced under lanterns, his arms my harbor, ignoring side eyes. A slow song pulled us close. You're my high water, I teased, nipping his ear. He growled low, careful or we'll scandalize the Ferris wheel. Later, in the truck cab, windows fogged, we indulged, quick and hungry. His hand muffling my moans, laughter bubbling post-glow. Fall wove introspection. Daniel's 50th, surprise party at the co-op, fire pit roaring, stories swapped. I toasted, to the drifter who stayed, my anchor, my storm. Tears glistened. His reply, arm around me, to Gabe who made roots from wander. That night, vulnerability peaked, bodies entwined slow, exploring with intent, afterglow confessions of fears. My dread of outliving him, his of fading relevance. We'll age like whiskey, he promised. Better with time. Winter's hush brought quiet drama. My novel manuscript done, querying agents from the kitchen table. Rejection stung, but Daniel's faith buoyed. Your words are gold, kid. A nibble came from a Chicago indie. Queer rural romance, they called it. Signing the contract felt like harvest. Tears on the dotted line, Daniel's kiss sealing it. Spring heralded new life. Fostering turned adoption. Teen named Riley, 16 and sharp-tongued, fleeing Bible Belt conversion camp. First week's rocky. Sneers at our gay shit. Walls high as silos. Daniel's patience shone. Fishing trips, shop talks on carburetors. My lit background bonded us over books. Giovanni's room cracking his shell. By summer, Riley bloomed. Pride march with us, rainbow pin on his overalls. Thanks for not fixing me, he said one eve, hugging fierce. Conflict's echo lingered in town hall. Ellis's retirement. His replacement a young progressive AG teacher. But old guard grumbled. A petition circulating to review our co-op for moral fitness. Showdown at the next meeting. Packed room, air thick. Riley spoke first, voice quaver-free. These men saved me. Judge that. Daniel followed. We've fed this town, literally. Let us keep doing it. I closed. Love's not the enemy. Fear is. Cheers erupted. Petition shredded on the spot. Romances crescendo. Our 5th anniversary. Barn dance for locals. String band twanging. Tables groaning under potluck. Midway, Daniel pulled me aside. To the loft overlook. 5 years of you. Best plot twist. He knelt again. Not ring but vows renewed. Handwritten. Framed. Mine echoed. Tears salting the ink. Below, Riley hooped with friends. Above, we sealed it slow, love deliberate, enduring. Years stacked like cordwood. Riley off to college, AG major like me. Farm a model for grants, panels powering the grid. Daniel's memoirs self-pubbed. Vietnam truths raw. My 2nd book hit shelves. Tour stopping Omaha. Signing for Ellis's nephew. Now out and proud. Betrayals? Fertilizer for growth. In the barn, under lights we strung ourselves. We'd dance slow. His head on my shoulder, whispering, still speechless. I'd grin. Only when you kiss me. Human tapestry, woven tight. Dramatic threads of loss and fire. Emotional warp of tears and touch. Romantic weft of stolen dawns. All grounded in the humane heart of 2 men tilling love from American soil. A decade in, Willow Creek had morphed. Less ghost town, more mosaic, our farm its vibrant stitch. Solar arrays hummed symphonies. Co-op expanded to a market stand on Highway 30, peddling organics to tourists chasing field of dreams nostalgia. Daniel and I? Silver threaded our hair now, his more salt than pepper, mine a scatter like buckshot. Wrinkles mapped laughs and losses. His hands, once vice grip strong, gentled softer, tracing my hip in sleep with reverence. Romance evolved. Less wildfire, more hearth glow. Mornings, he'd brew pour over, reading obits aloud with wry commentary. Old Man Jenkins finally kicked. Bet heavens got better moonshine. I'd counter with book reviews from the Times, debating plot twists over eggs. Nights, we'd curl on the porch swing, his thumb stroking my wedding band, stars winking approval. But life's script demands drama, and our scripted a gut-wrencher. Daniel's diagnosis? Slipped in casual over vet bills for the co-op's therapy horses. Prostate, he said, fork midway to mouth. Early catch, docs say. Chemo, then clear sailing. World tilted. Fork clattered. My hand finding his across the table. Cold, trembling. We'll fight, I whispered, voice steel for us both. He nodded, grin crooked. Damn right, ain't done dancing yet. Routine fractured. Appointments in Omaha, me white-knuckling the wheel while he catnapped. Cap pulled low. Chemo days, he'd puke till hollow, then crack jokes. Tastes like regret and kale smoothies. I'd hold the basin, stroke his back, heart fracturing with each heave. Emotional undercurrents surged. Riley, home from his Omaha AG extension post, bunked in to help, cooking bland broths, running interference with nosy neighbors. You two are goals, he'd say, eyes misty, hugging Daniel post-infusion. But nights alone, vulnerability cracked us. Daniel sobbing in the shower. Don't want to be a burden, Gabe. I join him under the spray, soaping gentle, murmuring. You're my everything, burden or not. Lovemaking shifted tender. His energy ebbing, we'd explore with mouths and hands, peaks soft sighs rather than roars. Still the sexiest man alive. I'd tease, nipping his earlobe, he'd chuckle, pulling me close. Flatterer, but keep it up. Doctor's orders. Conflict brewed insidious. Not from town, but within. Daniel withdrew, skipping co-op meetings, staring at fields like they mocked his frailty. What if I don't beat it? He'd mutter, pacing kitchen. I'd counter fierce. You will. We've beaten worse. Floods, fires, bigots. But doubt festered. One row escalated. Me pushing a fishing trip, him snapping. Can't even bait a damn hook without shaking. Door slammed. I retreated to the barn, punching bales till knuckles bled. Grief a live wire. Riley mediated, wise beyond his 20s. He's scared, Dad Gabe, like you were at 18. Apology came dawnlit. Daniel at the stall door, eyes red. Pushed you away to protect. Fuck, I don't know. Embrace followed, tears mingling. Reconciliation in the hay-scent quiet. Summer scorched, chemo's toll mounting, hair gone, weight shed like sheaves. Town rallied unexpected. Hargrove's pies, gluten-free, bless her. Ellis's successor dropping off sermons swapped for sci-fi novels. Light reading for warriors. A fundraiser bloomed, co-op bake sale ballooning to ribeye roast, proceeds for treatment. Daniel, Cap Askew, man the grill. Who knew hellfire felt this good? Laughter rippled. Pride swelled. Our messy love, community anchor. Romance flickered defiant. Anniversary amid it all. Me wheeling him to the loft. Stairs conquered slow. String lights twinkled. I'd packed a thermos of broth. Playlist of our road trip hits. 10 years. I toasted, clinking mugs. To more plot twists. His eyes, weary but wicked. Twist me then. We laughed, bodies aligning careful. Kisses lingering, hands reverent on thinned frames. Climax whispered. Afterglow his head on my chest. Love you deeper than roots, Gabe. Fall's harvest mirrored recovery. Crops resilient, Daniel scans clearer. But high drama crested with a scare. Fever spiking post-mo, ambulance lights strobing the drive. Our vigil. Me pacing linoleum, Riley texting updates to co-op crew. Diagnosis. Infection, treatable, but hours stretched eternal. Mind reeling worst cases. Flashbacks to Dad's yellowing. Daniel woke groggy, squeezing my hand. Told ya, stubborn as sin. Relief crashed. I buried face in his neck, sobs muffled. Don't scare me like that. His chuckle weak. Keeps you on your toes. Winter healed slow. Physical therapy hikes along the creek. Daniel leaning on my arm, banter our crutch. Feel like an old coot, he'd grumble. I'd retort, sexy coot. Now lean harder, flirt. Vulnerability deepened bonds. Journals exchanged, his Vietnam addendums, my novel sequels, pages of fears voiced. Riley proposed at Christmas. Adopting me back. Officially? Papers signed tear-streaked. Family sealed. Spring's thaw mirrored his. Hair stubble returning, energy budding. Co-op expanded. Therapy writing for queer youth. Daniel leading sessions. Voice gravel strong. Horses don't judge. Neither do we. Romance rekindled vivid. May full moon. Picnic at the quarry. Blanket spread. Fireflies lanterns. Wine loosened tongues. Remember our first storm? I asked, hand on his thigh. Grin flashed. How could I forget? You were thunder. Pull toward each other magnetic. Clothes shed unhurried. Bodies familiar yet wondrous. He entered me slow. Eyes locked. My anchor always. Peaks synced. Stars witnesses. Summer's drama shifted external. National spotlight via my book tour. Podcast on rural queers. Drawing developer vultures anew. Eyeing expanded acres for eco-resorts. Council chambers packed. Ellis, retired but spectating, nodded support as we testified. Daniel's voice booming. This land's legacy. Love, labor, not luxury condos. Votes ours. Victory bonfire roared. Townies toasting with craft brews. Fall wove maturity. Daniel's full remission party. Barn alight with lanterns. Band playing Thunder Road. Toasts flowed, Riley's. To the dads who taught me home's a verb. Mine, arm around Daniel. To storms that clear the air. Dance floor called. We swayed. His whisper hot. Wanna make the loft jealous? Winter's peace. Holidays with Riley's partner. A botanist with laugh like bells. New Year's, under mistletoe. Resolutions whispered. Travel light. Love loud. Chemo scars, faded tattoos of triumph. A year post-remission, high emotion peaked. Daniel's proposal to expand fostering. House big enough for 2 more. First placement. Twins, 14, fleeing conversion horrors. Chaos bloomed. Teen angst, midnight talks. But joy too. Daniel's patience paternal gold. Romance amid it. Stolen kisses over dish duty. Quickies in the truck pre-pickups. Conflict's gentle echo. My 3rd book deal. Chicago move floated for promo. Go solo, Daniel urged. I'll hold the fort. Like old times. Heart tugged. Compromise. Hybrid Zoom readings. Farm visits. Launch night. He beamed via video. Proud as hell author man. Spring's renewal. Garden planted with kids. Hands in soil a sacrament. Summer fair. Us judging pies Riley emceeing. Fall harvest. Bumper. Solar surplus donated. Winter solstice. Ritual fire. Vows renewed casual. Still in. Decade's end. Graybeards matched. Steps synced. Barn stands sentinel. Door creaking welcomes. Betrayals. Distant thunder. Conflicts. Compost. In his arms. I murmur. Speechless still. Grin crinkles. Only when you look at me like that. American epic. Dramatic arcs of illness and ire. Emotional depths plumbed. Romantic flames banked eternal. Humane heart beating steady in the heartland we claimed. 20 years from that barn doors creak. Willow Creek's skyline bristles with turbines. Our turbines, spinning gold from prairie wind. The farm, a hub now. Ag-Tech demos for college kids. Co-op a non-profit powerhouse feeding food deserts from Omaha to the Panhandle. Daniel and I, silver foxes in Carhartts. Helmet with Riley, his botanist wife, and their toddler little Ellis named ironic nod to past foes. Town evolved too. Pride flags on Main Street lampposts. Hargrove's grandkids volunteering at the youth center we founded. Ellis himself, grieving widower, attends our solstice fires, sharing stories of his nephew's visits. Tentative bridges over old chasms. Life's drama mellowed to masterwork patina, but emotions run perennial deep. Daniel's health holds. Annual scans ritual, met with steak dinners and toasts. To cheating the reaper again. Mornings we walk the fence lines, his arm looped mine, debating expansions. Vertical farms? Hemp trials? His mind sharp as ever, ideas sparking like live wires. You're still the dreamer, I tease, bumping shoulder. And you're the doer, my better half. Romance? Seasoned oak. Anniversary getaways to Taos. Adobe walls echoing younger hungers. Nights slow, exploratory. His touch knowing every freckle, every size trigger. Love you like the first rain. He'll murmur post-glow. Head pillowed on my chest, heartbeat our metronome. Yet conflict whispers eternal, generational this time. Riley's crew chafes at old-school ways. Dad's, carbon credits are the future. Not just panels. Debates flare over dinner. Voices rising, plates pushed aside. But end in laughter, hugs, concessions. Daniel thrives on it. Eyes twinkling. Keeps us young. Getting schooled by sprouts. External ripples. Climate bills in Lincoln. Developers circling anew with green facades. We testify, voices gravel and gold. Mine measured, his firebrand. Winds stack, grants flowing, headlines hailing Heartland heroes. Emotional crescendos crest personal. Daniel's memoir sequel, Drifter's Doc, penned during a sabbatical. Launch in Omaha, packed house. Riley emceeing, me in front row beaming. Readings wrench hearts, his Vietnam confessions, our barn-born love, chemo's crucible. Q and it turns teary. A teen asking, how'd you know it was real? Daniel's gaze finds mine. Felt like coming home, kid. Scary as hell, but home. Post-event, green room quiet. We slip away, truck cab sanctuary. Hands frantic, reclaiming youth in hurried passion, laughter echoing. Summer's heat stirs romance vivid. Co-op picnic, blankets spread under turbines hum. Kids chase fireflies. We steal to the creek, dipping toes, his fingers interlacing wet. Remember quarry fog? I ask, pulling him close. Grin flashes. How could I forget? You were insatiable. Water laps as we kiss, deepening to undress, bodies buoyant, buoyant in current and each other. Peaks ripple soft, sun dappling afterglow. Fall's harvest brings high drama. Superstorm brewing, echoes of our first. Alerts blare. We bunker with family, candles flickering tales. Riley's birth stories, little Ellis's babble. Winds howl biblical. Power holds, solar pride. But dawn reveals wreckage. Barn roof peeled, fields furrowed. Assessment day. Daniel surveying damage, jaw set. Rebuild bigger, he declares, arm around me. Crew rallies, neighbors, co-op alums. Hammers ringing chorus. Amid it, vulnerability. Night in the guest room, main house flooded. Him confessing, thought I'd lose you to this mess. Embrace fierce. Never. We're the storm now. Winter rebuilds resolve. Insulation upgraded. Roof reinforced with pride flag weathervane. Holidays swell. Extended kin from Denver. Marcus's surviving partner toasting ghosts. New Year's. Fire pit vows. To weathering more. Riley announces pregnancy. Cheers erupt. Daniel misty. Grandpa? Shit. Pass the whiskey. Springs bloom. Twins thriving. Therapy horses grazing fuller pastures. Summer fair. Us grand marshals. Float a hay bale turbine. Confetti rainbow. Fall equinox. Book festival, my fourth novel, Barn Confessions, bestseller bump. Daniel's foreword. Gabe's words tilled my soul. Conflict's autumn hue. Riley's bid for counsel, facing old guard remnants. Campaign trail tense. Debates sharp. Flyers smeared. We stump. Daniel's charisma rallying farms. My stories swaying hearts. Election night, town hall electric. Victory narrow, hugs crushing. You raised a fighter. Daniel whispers, pride thick. Romance's evergreen, 25th anniversary. Road trip redux, Route 66. But RV now, creaky joints accommodated. Motels yield to campfires. One New Mexico dusk, canyon vast, he pulls a box. Custom knives, handles carved G&D infinity. For carving our path, he says, eyes young. Mine, star map of our wedding night. Love under wagon wheel sky, slow, sacred, bodies him. Years cascade. Ellis toddles rose, twins graduate, one queer, out proud. Daniel's 70th. Barn bash, bands and brews. Toasts mine. To the friend who became father, lover, legend. Dance, sway eternal, his breath warm. Still got moves, old man? Grin. For you? Always. Drama's denouement gentle. Daniel's hip replacement. Me his nurse, crutches comedy. Recovery romps adapted creative. Emotional depth. Letters to future selves, archived for grandkids. Tales of betrayals mended, conflicts conquered. Spring 2045. Farm tour for school group, kids wide-eyed at turbines. Daniel leads, voice steady. Love built this, stubborn, sexy love. Q&A. Uncle Gabe, how'd you meet? I wink. Barn. Storm. Kiss that changed everything. Laughter ripples. Daniel's hand squeezes mine. Timeless. Summer solstice. Fire ritual. Family circle. Fall harvest. Record yields, donated to shelters. Winter's hush. Porch swing, blanket shared, his head on shoulder. Speechless hours? I murmur. Chuckle rumbles. Nah, just grateful. For the plot, the partner, the life. Legacy lingers. Books shelved in libraries, farm model for nations. Betrayals? Fertilizer forgotten. Conflicts? Chapters closed. In American vastness, our story. Dramatic tempests tamed. Emotional oceans navigated. Romantic rivers run deep. Humane harvest abundant. Endures. Not by tragic, but triumph. Two men, one barn, endless horizons.